Well, tell me about your long week.
Well, it's just work has really ramped up, I guess. I mean, I'm not surprised. I knew it would happen. It isn't going to stay slow forever. And
Well, happy
um,
spring, right?
I've got a couple, yeah, I've got a couple of really big projects that have cut loose, and there's just a lot to do now. And then some of my other work involving to protect the guilty, let me just say.
The
Uh,
innocent.
I'm working with some people who I don't know how to say that. I guess I would just expect more from them being who they are and who they represent. But man, it's just everything is so hard and so slow, and you feel like you're having to hold their hand through everything, and we're working for them, and I feel like we're the ones having to drive the bus through their program to help them get out of their own way so that we can give them what they want. And it's just kind of an awkward place because they're the client and you don't want to
Right.
offend or step on toes and be like, what are you guys doing? I mean, this is, yeah. So I don't know what else to say about that, but it's a different kind of challenge that I'm not especially used to. And so just kind of wrestling through that.
Well, I don't know why, but it seems like we get faced with obstacles that kind of help us out. You've got this coming at you, and in some ways, I'm sure it looks the same, and in other ways, it's like, why is this happening? And I think I've mentioned this before, but Darren Hardy, he says, well, I think it was Jim Rohn that taught Darren Hardy this.
Mhm.
Jim Rohn said, be fascinated, not frustrated. Be fascinated, not frustrated.
Yeah,
And,
that.
and it
Hmm.
gives a whole different direction to that. It's like, okay, why are they doing it this way? Instead of, why are they doing it this way?
Yes.
It's just all, it's like a curiosity, okay, what's going on here? Why are they doing this? Or the frustration, it's almost like, well, it's their fault.
Yeah.
Why are they
There's very
doing
little fruit in being upset or frustrated by it. So yeah, being curious is a much more positive way to look at it for sure. That makes a lot of sense. One thing I'm realizing, and I just talked to my boss about this already this morning, is that they're all just people. They might hold a fancy position or work at a fancy place or have a fancy responsibility, but they're still just people, and they've got their own things to deal with and weaknesses and their own struggles. And so, yeah, it's just how it is.
Yeah, I can't remember who said it. I want to say it was Gandhi, but each person has their own pain, and
Yeah, isn't that true?
and they're very much, our pains are very much different. I volunteer. I think I've told you this. I was asked by our church to volunteer as a committee of three. There's three of us that we're over eight congregations, and so it's about 2,100 people that we
Okay.
have responsibility for. And twice a year we'll have a gathering. We call it a conference. We'll have a gathering of all eight congregations into one building and have services twice a year. Like I say, it's every 6 months, and we're anticipating one of those in May. And I'm in charge of answering a bunch of questions. So we've put it out there. Do you have any questions that you would like to have answered? And man, this is difficult because there's so many questions coming in, and what's funny is the majority of them are frustrating questions.
Mm,
It's questions of frustration. Why is God being mean to me? why can't I improve? Why, it's just things like that. I'm I'm plagued by alcohol, or whatever it is. How come God won't take this away from me? And I'm
Mm,
and I'm sitting here thinking, why why can't you see that you have responsibility for you? God
mm,
God is fulfilling his part of it. He's blessing you with air, with sunshine, with rest, with in a lot of cases with employment. Yeah, it might not be the employment you want, it might not be the income you want, but it's so funny how they just make themselves out. um, these 8 congregations, they're between 18 and 30. No, excuse me, there's 7 congregations, 18 to 30, and then there's one congregation that's 31 to 45, and they're all single. They're none of them are married. Okay.
oh, wow.
And so they have their own congregation so that they can, have society with each other, and you know, hopefully they'll find a mate. But it's so funny how many of these are resistant to, well, I don't want to talk to anybody. You know, I,
Eh,
I wish I had a girlfriend, but I don't dare go out. And it's like, nobody's going to do it for you.
yeah, right.
And, back to the own pain, it's amazing how many different pain points there are, different types of pain, but how similar they are. For instance, I have anxiety and depression. Well, I think everybody does.
Mm,
However, there are some people that are diagnosed with the chemical imbalance, or whatever is causing that, PTSD, whatever it is. But it's amazing there, even at that, they can control that. So find professional help. And it's funny how many people are resistant to that. Why doesn't the church, why doesn't the
mm.
congregation take care of me and do this? Why don't they pay for a psychologist? Why don't, and
Oh, geez.
it's just interesting to see the backside of this. A few years ago, I was over one of these congregations. I had responsibility for one of them, and there was only 400 in the congregation. But it's amazing to see. I Until then, I didn't see behind the scenes. I just thought, oh well, this person's doing well, and I'm taking all the time. Sorry, where I was
No,
headed.
you're fine.
Where I was headed with this is it's just interesting to, when you line everybody up, and we said, okay, take your pain and put it in the middle of the floor, and we're going to pile them all up there. Go get your favorite pain. Everybody's got to have one, but go get your pain. And I think 95% of the time, people would go get the same one they've got already.
Mm, hmm. Interesting. Well, I mean, I agree. Everybody has something, and for us to assume that by appearances that somebody has it all together or they aren't having a hard time is to miss the person. Um, and Angie's a good example of this, and I tell people often, as she's been wrestling with health things for a very long time, when she goes out, she looks very pretty and put together and can wear a smile and be engaging and all of that stuff, while inside she feels depressed or just utterly exhausted, or trying desperately not to cough all over somebody or whatever, because she just doesn't feel good. And so when people hear, oh, well, she has all these issues and please pray for her, they're like, what? I didn't know. It's like, well, yeah, I mean, she's tough and she holds it together pretty good, but She has a lot going on, and that makes us all think of other people in a different way, because we don't know what they're dealing with either, and maybe they need our prayers, or they need some grace, or a hug, or something, because we should probably assume that somebody has a thing than to assume that they're all put together, right? I mean,
I
maybe that's the point.
no, 100% on that one. Yep. But but all we see is the best side of people,
Yeah.
and we all do it. I don't want
Yes.
anybody to know that I'm hurting. I don't want anybody to know about my. And then we get inside of ourselves and think, oh man, I'm the only one with this. I'm the only
Yeah.
one, and that's not the truth. That's not the truth. Is everybody has their own set of pain. Well, I didn't mean to talk about this. Let's talk about what's going on with you. I mean, you've got a cool challenge with people that might have their own pain, and you're probably the receiver of shooting the messenger, right?
Well, it's not something that you get taught in school, but and I can only speak from my own experience, but I think for most of us, our jobs are about people and problems and solving problems. And um, my phone is ringing like crazy right now, because I'm pretty sure this person has a problem and they're expecting me to solve it. So, yeah, my point is that sometimes it's just exhausting that's your day, is dealing with other people's problems and trying to help solve their, crisis of the moment. And that's not what I went to school for. I went to school to learn how to build stuff,
Right.
and I do that. But even more so, I feel like I'm solving problems and, dealing with people who have an issue that needs help that's not necessarily nuts and bolts. So it can wear me down too. Sometimes I need a break and would like to hear something good once in a while.
I have a friend. He says, my job would be really super easy if there weren't people involved in it.
Yes, I say that too. I do. Yeah, could I just do this without people and it would be
Yeah.
great?
And what's
But
funny,
that's not how it works.
yeah, in the environment of school, you're right. They don't talk about. I mean, they do. They kind of do the surface part of it,
Yeah,
but you're absolutely right. I don't care what profession you're in. I don't care if you sit in a cubicle and never see anybody. Never.
yeah,
Okay, you're still in the people business.
yes,
Because if you don't provide value to solve somebody's problem, they're not going to pay you.
yes,
But bottom line,
yeah.
even if you're an employee stuck in a closet and all they do is slide food underneath the door, you are still in the people business.
Yeah,
And more than anything, that's what we have to learn is about people, and that's what it comes down to.
yeah. Well, isn't that something about not just how our system works, but what's real? I mean, if we're trying to build a team, let's say that it's for work or otherwise, we're so inclined to check off the credentials, right? Oh, he went to this school, or she has this experience, or she's already done this kind of job or whatever. She must be great at it,
Yep.
without really considering, well, how do you solve problems, or how do you relate to people, or how do you communicate, or some of these things that are considered soft skills maybe. And I'm thinking, can we not regard them as the soft skills? Maybe those are the primary skills. I mean,
I
especially where I work, you have to be trained how to do virtually everything because it's so niche and
Right.
different. But when I'm interviewing, um, I'm asking a lot more questions about who are you as a person and not what have you done, because I don't hardly care about that. We can teach you that part. It's a lot harder to teach someone to um, care, I mean, or be responsible, or have some integrity, or that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Uh, in most cases, the entry level jobs, you can just put somebody in there and put them to work. Okay. It doesn't require a ton of training. I mean, there's just a few things, this is the way we do it here. But don't you find that the skills can be taught, and more than likely, if you hire from if you hire somebody with a lot of experience in the same field that you're in, you almost have to untrain them on the things that
Yeah,
you bring with them, and then get them to zero, and then train them on the things that you want
yeah,
them to do.
right.
That's what I find is, I got to get you to zero so I can train you on how I really want it. And to your point, why not investigate what the interaction with other people are? Um, there is, I should say, but uh, or how do you problem solve? I've got a friend that when he interviews somebody, and so he's an appraiser, a real estate appraiser, and he has some assistants that are, they'll just put the reports together, and then he'll have an assistant that's a receptionist and types letters and so forth. So, I mean, it's important, but it's not an entry level job necessarily. So what he'll do is he'll bring them in, and while he's interviewing them on the soft skills, like you say, and he's very good at interviewing for those, he'll hand them a piece of paper and say, "Please make a paper airplane for me." And he'll watch and see how they, you know, if they don't know how to do it, some people will try and make a paper airplane because they feel
Mm,
pressure of, oh, I've got to do this so I can get the job. And
yeah,
what he's looking for is do you know how to do this? And if you don't know how to do this, are you willing to ask me?
right. Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Are you
Yeah.
gonna
So how does
fake?
that go?
Are you gonna fake? Oh, he says it's incredible. He says no. With some people, they know how to make an airplane, so they just put one out. And so what he'll do is he'll say, "Do you know how to make another one? A different style." Or he's got another puzzle that he'll hand them and say, "Can you do this?" But it just kind of gives him a flavor of how they solve problems or how they handle things. There's a game called Cash Flow. Robert Kiyosaki. I don't know. Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yes.
Okay,
I think we've talked about this a long time ago. I remember something vaguely of it. It's almost like a lemonade stand kind of a thing.
kind of. Okay. What he's done is he's taken Monopoly and made it really not transactional, but really detailed. So you're
Mm.
buying properties and you're selling properties. You're going to the market with properties, and you're keeping a financial statement as you go along. And so it teaches you to make decisions. Should I sell this property to upgrade to this one or hang on to it? And so you're going back and forth. And it is so interesting to play that game with people and see how they think, see how they
Mm.
solve problems. Well, what do you think? Should I buy this or not? Or, and then there's some, wow, I'm just going to do this. And then there's some that are just super risky. They're buying all this stock that may or may not work. And it's just interesting to see the different styles of people. We actually used to use that game to hire people. We'd say, okay,
Oh, is that right?
can you play a game with us? Well,
Huh.
and so we teach them how to do that, and it's interesting. Um, I I don't know if I've ever told you this, but I have a business where we train kids to do obstacle course training or run obstacle courses. we went to a school one time, and this mother was volunteering, and she's actually a CEO of a company here, and she has several employees. And she was what we do is we take the volunteers. So she's a mom, and she came and volunteered with the PTO or PTA. I don't know which one you guys have. PTO here. Anyway, she was standing there making sure that the kids didn't fall off or injure themselves, or if they got stuck, or if they were frightened. And it was on a cargo net. It's on an A-frame, and so we ran the cargo net over it. And people are afraid of heights. That's just a natural thing. Okay, and these little kids, they were first grade to eighth grade, and we did different grades. We didn't run them all together, but she was there for most of the day, and she said, "This is so interesting to see the different styles of people that come over this. There are some that are just not afraid, they go over. There are some that are afraid and they conquer that and just go over. There are some that get stuck, and then you have some that get stuck and the mother runs over or the teacher runs over and, oh, we'll pull you off. You don't have to do this. You can go around." And
Yeah.
she said, "I might hire you guys to run my um, employee candidates, my applicants through this so that I can watch and see how they handle an obstacle or something that scares them."
Huh.
She said, "This has been so interesting and has taught me so much." So it's interesting to get people put into that situation. You've probably seen that in your men's group, hey, we're going to do this exercise regimen or this hike or this ruck or have you had some of that experience?
Well, maybe not maybe not so much with the exercise part, but just getting them to talk about real things sometimes is a challenge. You get the guys that are very, chatty Cathy, and they'll tell you their whole life story, and you got other guys who don't want to seem like they're afraid to talk, so they'll talk, but they don't really say anything. And then you get other guys that just won't say anything at all, and you have no idea what they're thinking. So yeah, asking questions around that and getting guys to talk about real things reveals a lot about who they are and maybe what they're afraid of and stuff like that, for sure.
Right. Well, how are you going to handle these challenges with these people? Have you made any determination yet?
Well, I'm just reminded that they're a lot more similar to me than different, and they might need help where they don't think they do, and so maybe I can be that for them. I can also, try to be patient while also poking them to take action, and I don't know, be less frustrated and more curious, I suppose, when I can't understand why something is so difficult for them. Yeah, so yeah, all of that.
Cool, cool. Well, I better let you get to that emergency that's been calling you.
Yeah. Yes, I will make double effort to be curious.
That's awesome. Well, give Angie my best. She's still in our prayers. And
Yeah, thank you very much.
please,
Yes, appreciate it.
please accept my best to you too. Go have a great weekend, will you?
Yeah, likewise. We'll catch you later.
All right. Chad,
All
thank
right.
you.
Bye, Todd.
Take care.